Have you ever wondered what games you should keep or you should lose? Find out here at Purge Reviews.
Jurassic Parts is a Kickstarter game about dinosaurs, but it isn't about running a theme park based on dinosaurs like you would think from the pun they used in the game. Instead, you're archaeologists and you're using chisels to find bones, and you put those bones together to score dinosaur points. And whoever has the most victory points will be the winner of the game. It's a very easy game. Each round you get 3 chisels that you place down on the board. Most spaces only cost 1 chisel, but if it has a rock, it will be 2. And if it has 2 rocks, it will be 3 chisels will be the cost. And you want to kind of cut off the board, if you will, to make a smaller slab. And once completely cut off, players will get those tiles, half of them, and if you're the second most, you get the next half, etc. So it is a mind puzzle about how you want to break up this board. You want to do like a really big part and get a whole bunch, but it'll take you a whole long time. Maybe somebody will jump in and try to get majority, or just put a single chisel down and get a big portion, or do you want to do really small ones and kind of get those off? There is a variant where you can have player powers that really add something to it. I'd recommend playing the base game first and then kind of add that in, as that can kind of shake up the balance of the game a little bit, I think. Overall, this has been a huge hit for the family. The components are really good. The game is easy to teach and play, especially with little ones. You can play this with gamers or non-gamers. There is some negatives. I think the components are good, but the player aid has typos on it. They're not going to fix it from what I hear. If they are, please forgive me. But it's hard because you kind of need that player aid to show the dinosaurs and kind of how they go together, how many are in each dinosaur, because it's not printed on the tiles themselves, but the points are wrong on it. So if you go just off the player aid, you get to the end, you're not going to score as many points probably as you thought you would. So that's kind of a problem here where we keep the book open and stuff. So those kind of typos, it's unfortunate that it happened because the rest of the production is pretty good. It's one of our favorite family games. Right now, dinosaurs are really big in our family. Everybody likes it. It's got the little pun. I don't know why they went with that with Jurassic Park, because it kind of sends the wrong theme. Sure, it has dinosaurs, but you're not running a theme park. This is nothing like Dinosaur Island or Dinogenics. This is a little area control isolation game that you'll be playing with tiles. Very good. We've had a lot of fun with it. Easy to teach. You can play this with nearly anyone and have a great time. For us, absolute keeper. Here's Jurassic Parts, which is a Kickstarter. You get a little small box with everything kind of inside. It's got a really striking cover to it. And obviously it's paying off the Jurassic Park. Everybody's going to have these player order things that will just kind of sit down on the table. It kind of gives you a turn order and your choice that you can do there. Nobody has an individual power. It's a little disappointing. These are the player aids that you're going to get. They have multiple typos on it. For example, the pile of bones is not worth 5. That's a huge typo. There's some other typos that are on here. I think the Velociraptor is only worth 4 and not 5. So this is a huge bummer and kind of keeps me from passing these out. I mean, you got to, because it has this scoring on it and the dinosaurs so people can see what they're going after, but you do have to point out the typos. And I don't think they're going to bring out errata for this. I don't think they're going to reprint these. That's kind of a shame. So you have plenty of these different people that you can be in the game. You're going to have a rulebook, which we'll take a look at in a few minutes. You're going to have these amber pieces, which are really, really nice. And you're going to have the first player token, which is the little Jurassic Park bug in the amber. So, you know, they're really pushing that hard. You're going to have a number of tiles. They kind of have a gloss to them, which is kind of cool. And they all have a different side to them, so that looks nice. And then you're going to have these little chisels in the different colors. I kind of individually bag them. There's 12 for each player that you'll have. They're just little plastic pieces. And they look pretty cool. So all the components are really nice, as you would expect from a Kickstarter. The tiles are super thick. The typos, honestly, bring it down a little bit for me in the component-wise. Your mileage may vary. Lastly, there are some cards you can give out. These are pretty nice. These are optional thing. So if you wanted to have individual powers, everybody would get a random one of these before the game. They'll do different things. So you may carry over an additional chisel between turns, receive a bonus amber when you complete a 4 or 5 tile dinosaur, move 1 or 2 of your placed chisels. So this gives each player a little bit of a power as they go on if you wanted to have individual powers, and this is a variant that you can play with. Here is the rule book that you're going to have. It's going to have a table of contents over here. You can have a picture of setup, everything there for you, numbered out really good. And then this is your turns. This is what you're going to be doing on a turn and how to break the rocks apart. It's a little bit confusing at first for me. You're going to have what you're going to do with the field leader and how to split the slabs. It's going to be a lot of what you're going to be doing. The resource cards, if you want to utilize those, and then the scoring. So once again, the player aids are going to have typos, so don't go by this, which is what we did when we played. Make sure you have the book open. Everybody understands this scoring here. Then a little bit of a bio about the different people, etc., and end of game scoring on the back, which I don't think is as good as this player aid would be with the typos. So we just kind of left it open here, and everybody had access to this. That's how I would have it. Just put this out on the board. So during the game, you're going to have this player aid down on you. You have your dull chisels over here. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to take 3 from this side, and you're going to sharpen them up. And then you're going to have the player board here, which will be a bunch of tiles, and it'll probably be larger than this, but I just wanted to give you an idea of what it looked like. And then on your turn, you can put your chisels out wherever you want. So I put a chisel there for one. I could put a chisel there for another one. Now, if it's ever let me bring this back here. If there's ever a rock where there's like one rock here and no rock on this side, I would have to put a chisel there and then bring one over and dull. Now, if there was ever 2 rocks on a side, let's say this had been like this, there's a rock here, there's a rock here, I would have to put 1 chisel there, then I have to give up 2 chisels over to the dull side. So that's how the chisels work. Now, if you're ever in a spot where let's say you built this up, and now this is off to the side here, this would come off. Now this has less tiles than this, obviously this only has 2. Then I would take half of these, so half of these rounded up. So say I wanted to take this one, and then this guy would go over to the field leader. But let's say there was a bigger chisel here. So let's say the chisel set up with this. Now we have green and red. We would pull these apart. Everybody would get their chisels back, and they would go into their dull section. And then I would get to choose half of these. The red player would. So let's say I really wanted these 2. And the green player, who had 1 chisel there, he would get to choose half of what's left over. So say he wanted this one, and whatever's left over would go to the field leader. So that's how that's going to work. You're always going to take off whatever the smallest slab is. So the field leader is going to give you some options here, and you're going to be able to spend this amber at this location. If I ever have a tile and I don't need it or want it, I can always give the tile to the field leader and take an amber in return. So that's one thing that I can do. The other things you can do are purchases. So for the first purchase, it will cost 1, second will cost 2 amber, and the third will cost 3. So the first one I can do is next 2 chisels, ignore rocks. So remember how these rocks cost extra chisels, but if I were to give up an amber, I could chisel through this, only giving up 1 chisel each time. So that can be very helpful. Now remember, you can also get 2 chisels here. So instead of having 3 on a turn, I would get 5. I can take any fossil tile. Remember, this guy's going to be collecting tiles as the game progresses. So for a amber, I can take one of those missing tiles that I need. Or I can take one from the field. So I could give up an amber, and I could just take one of these off the board that I really, really needed and take it, and that would be an amber. For any of the amber left over at the end of the game, if you have amber you haven't spent, that's going to be 1 victory point. In addition, you're going to score victory points for collecting things. So these plant ones that kind of look like this, they don't have any bones on them. It's a set collection. So the more, if I get 10, I get 35 points. If I get 3, I get 5 points. Otherwise, you're going to be getting these bones and you'll be making up these dinosaurs. So there's a little bit of pressure luck. If you want to go up to the big one, he's worth 15 points, but the small one's only worth 7, but he does require more tiles to do so, and the correct tiles. Now, there are going to be this tile out here. It's a wild one. It says 5 points here, but it's not worth any points at the end of the game. So any of these that you have at the end of the game that have a finalized dinosaur are only worth 1 point each. So they can be worth quite a bit more in a set. You might have something like this that is an entire bone structure, and that's worth 1 point also. So you want to be careful of that, but you're trying to collect these to make these dinosaurs and get the various points that you have. Whoever has the most victory points is your winner. Who should buy this game? Families. I think light gamers. If you want to play with a non-gamer, this dinosaur theme will pull people in. The components look really good. They're super cute. I think it works on a lot of levels. The production of the player aids and the typos is a little bit disconcerting. I'm not really crazy about that. And I think that will trigger up and keep some non-gamers, maybe confuse them a little bit. Otherwise, they would not have been. But that aside, this game has been a big winner. Just keep the player aids, throw them away, and play the rest of the game, and you'll have a great time. I was a Kickstarter backer on this one. Glad I did. And it's an excellent, fun game.